This is News in Depth with me, Efim Pande. There are times when a minute or two can make all the difference. A nick in time can be all that there is to save a life. An emergency, especially in health matters, is a delicate issue because time and facilities are the decider. It is all about evacuation and treatment. Today, I take a look at emergency health services in Zambia. Where are we in terms of intensive care services and responding to critical needs? Have these services been rolled out to answer every distress call? I'll also be finding out what is being done to improve these services. Thank you for joining me on today's edition of News in Depth. Stay tuned. They happen suddenly and unexpectedly with a swiftness that blinds a twinkling eye. And when they happen, they require an equally swift response or the damage may be irreparable, if not fatal. These are medical emergencies. Anyone can be helpful at an emergency scene, but it is important to know your limitations. In a case of an accident, those trained to perform first aid can act within the bounds of the knowledge they have. Those who have no medical know-how can be useful by remaining calm and staying with the injured person. But crowding a victim is not the answer. Too often, emergency services complain about the crowds around a victim, which stress the patient. Emergencies vary, and so should the response. But why are these health services important?
The emergency services itself are very, very critical in the management of patients itself. Because emergency services, we talk about how soon the patient can be processed and identified what is the cause of the admission itself. And then processed to see whether they need specialist treatment and then they need specialist investigation. So emergency services talks about giving an opportunity to a patient who has come to the university hospital to manage that person on the shortest possible time so that if there's something that is reversible, you can actually reverse itself. And that's the concept of it itself, to say that we organize ourselves, we see patients on time, that needs those people that need special type of investigation, special type of doctors itself, they are attended to just at the point of entry at the hospital.
A life can be saved or lost depending on the response to the situation and available tools. The world today has advanced with various life support machines which no country can no longer ignore. But in the developing world, these machines are yet to be readily available.
Let's be realistic and be very open and very honest. We don't have any emergency services in Zambia. We have a fire brigade. If I asked you even today, if there's an accident on the road, what number are we going to call? Who are we going to call to start with? That's where the problem is, and that's what we need to correct. The sooner, the better. We've been talking about this for many years, and that's the reason why we at the Emergency Rescue Team decided to set up this small little organization which tries to help people who are involved in serious road traffic accidents. But like you said, we need to set up proper emergency medical centers for us to be able to call a number. Even when you are at home, your child is sick, your mother is sick, you have a husband, brother, relative, whoever, we need to know who to call. And we need to call the people who are well trained to handle our innocent victims or our beloved relatives.
Dr. Robert Zulu is a consultant surgeon at the University Teaching Hospital and is also in charge of emergencies. He knows the importance of out-of-hospital care.
At the scene of the accident, we need to do a lot of public education. In fact, I should thank ZNBC for this opportunity because people, if they don't know what to do, they need to call for help. I think that's the most important thing. rather than engaging yourself in trying to save a life, you may actually be doing a wrong thing and worsening a condition. So the first hiccup is what happens at the site. The second hiccup is what happens between the scene of the accident and the hospital in transit when the victim is being transported. I think we've seen in the past that because well-wishers throw the victim on the back of a truck in the taxi, the position in which they lie in the vehicle is not the correct one. They end up choking, they end up bleeding, they end up suffocating themselves. So sometimes it's better to ask for help. We've seen that a lot of patients who could have survived, they got worse in transit instead of getting better.
But emergency medical services are a reality in Zambia. This gene of intensive healthcare may be in its infancy, but it is growing. Andrew Stevenson is the Commissioner for Emergency Rescue Team. Mr. Stevenson now demonstrates how an accident victim is supposed to be handled.
While I was very impressed with the Ministry of Health, did get some ambulances, I believe some very nice ambulances. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough personnel, or the ministry didn't have enough personnel who are trained as paramedics to move in these vehicles. We need to retrain or to train the people driving the vehicles. We need to train the people who are going to sit in the vehicles and attend to the patients or victims. There is no point in attending to an accident or somebody who is injured and you put all the victims in the back of the ambulance and the nurses are sitting in front. What's the point? We might as well get an ordinary minibus. It's not helping. And that's why we say that training of ambulatory medicine, ambulatory services is very, very important. Lovely vehicles, beautiful equipment, I must say, but we need the right approach. We need the right personnel for them to be able to deliver and actually help save life and not just use an ambulance as a minibus.
We have sent 16 Zambian health workers abroad to go and train as paramedics. Those who help with pre-hospital care, mostly in the ambulances. The first batch will be completing in May of this year. So we'll have those specifically trained staff to manage the emergency part of our services. This year we will be sending another 20, and for the future we intend to localize this program so that we can train more people. We'll also be this year sending 3 physicians to go and do postgraduate training in emergency medicine. So those ones will be our resource people once they come to help us develop a local training program for postgraduate training in emergency medical services.
Is the busiest at the University Teaching Hospital. In fact, it is the home of emergency cases.
So, okay. Okay, good. The pulse oximeter is doing well, and the pulse is coming up. Excellent. Okay, Mama, you'll be okay. So let's arrange for gloves. We'll try to do an X-ray on her, and we'll prepare her for. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay, pelvis is intact, and the chest is intact. Good. Okay. So she is stable. The BP is alright. The pulse is okay, and the heart rate is recorded quite well. So all she needs is X-ray, the chest and the pelvis, and we'll be able to take her back to the house. Thank you.
Here the traffic is largely of ambulances coming in or going out. What has been your experience in dealing with emergency cases?
The challenge of emergency medicine is that there's very little communication from the source of the patients, where they come from. Most of the time we have no idea where these patients are coming, what time they are coming, and what are the conditions. So the challenge is communication from the peripheries, so that we yourself can be organized. Sometimes they can send the patient where it's not necessarily the patient. This patient can just be managed with just a verbal communication with the specialist itself. Yeah, so that's the challenge that we have itself, is communication itself. Lack of organization, communication itself. You may find that your hospital could be also congested dealing with that condition itself, and the limited number of staff itself is restricted, where you can see you have a medical emergency, and another medical emergency has come on top. But if there's some form of communication so that, yeah, this patient can wait, because that's the idea of emergency itself. You can organize yourself in a system called triage system, so that you can see which cases can be seen immediately and which cases can be seen later on itself, so that you give maximum effect to those people that need immediate treatment.
This is a storeroom. It almost has everything needed to manage an emergency. Drugs for emergencies are kept here. That aside, the country has also advanced and has acquired ambulances with life support machines. This is one of them. It has an incubator for a newborn baby. It also has more than one oxygen outlet and 2 seats for nurses. The advanced life support ambulance can only carry 1 patient. In fact, there is enough room for experts to do a procedure. In short, the advanced life support ambulance has equipment found in an intensive care unit.
We also need to learn to understand when to use the beacons and sirens in an ambulance. That's for the drivers, the ones who are driving them. It's extremely dangerous. We don't use the sirens in a hospital. We don't use the sirens when we have our victims inside the ambulance. It just makes them get more nervous and may even raise some of them's high blood pressure because they're wondering, am I dying? We need to use the sirens and beacons in the right and appropriate time.
This is the control center for ambulances in Lusaka.
Command post receiving you.
Sister, this is Chawama. We have eclampsia in labor ward. We need your ambulance urgently.
They receive calls through this communication radio from clinics within Lusaka.
Message received, thank you.
Critically ill patients are transported from clinics to the University Teaching Hospital or Levi Mwanawasa General Hospital.
Control, come over. Control receiving you. Sister, we have reached Chawama to go and get the pre-eclampsia. We have put the patient in the ambulance. Now we are ready to go to UTH. Now we are 4 from Chawama to UTH.
In a day, they receive between 10 to 20 emergency calls.
Okay.
Communication is critical in emergency health services. While visiting UTH, We were told the hospital line is 992, but the line does not go through. And it has been difficult for communities to call for help. Toll-free lines are often not working. What is being done to improve the communication aspect in emergency health services?
We are trying to come up with a team that can look into emergency communication. As I speak now, we've developed a concept paper that we submitted to our permanent secretary, who has given us a go-ahead to submit to Secretary to Cabinet for consideration. So once we do the concept paper, that is the one that is going to guide us in terms of what we need to do, because we've put the objectives in the concept paper, we've put the plans and what we intend to do. Once we are given a go-ahead, then we'll be able to move. We are also concerned that emergency communication system is very important. We are trying to automate some of the processes.
Emergency health services have been part of the health package, but they are now receiving special attention. An adult medical emergency unit is under construction at the University Teaching Hospital. This is not all. More is being done.
With regard to the other sites, of course, the central hospitals, we expect that we will do emergency centers there as well. But the other black spots in terms of road traffic accidents, we have targeted places like Mazabuka, we've targeted Nyimba, we've targeted Serenge, just to mention a few, that these hospitals, though they may be district hospitals, for Mazabuka it's a general hospital, we will need those centers to be operational within this period that we've said we should complete the emergency centers in the hospitals. What we've done in terms of ambulances is that we have bought two types of ambulances. The basic life support ambulance, which is meant to service most of the rural and hard to reach areas. And then we also have the advanced life support ambulances, which are mostly meant for more urbanized settings. Now, for the rural settings, what we've done is we basically provided ambulances to the district medical offices to support the movement of patients from health centers to hospitals or from one health center to another bigger health center.
At almost any time of the day, Lusaka roads are highly congested, and it is a nightmare for emergency vehicles to wrangle through on their way to medical facilities. This is because the country does not have lanes specifically designated for emergency vehicles. I caught up with the director in charge of transport in the Ministry of Transport, Works, Supply and Communications to find out if something is being done in this area.
The structure of the Lusaka city, of Lusaka, is one of the challenges that we have. I think if you're going into CBD, that's the Central Business District, we only have, I think, 5 routes in and out. And over time, we've seen traffic population of motor vehicle population growing, and then the infrastructure has not been growing. But what we have realized now is that this actually is affecting all emergency services, including ambulatory one, which you're talking about, which for us are very, very key. But what we have now is that by law, we under the Road Traffic and Road Traffic Act, which is Act number 11 of 2002, emergency vehicles are actually allowed to ply through our roads, even using the opposite lane for now, because the infrastructure is not there. So that is what we are doing now, just to make sure that the services is so you can meander around traffic, including going into the other lane, the opposite lane, so that you deliver your service. But in terms of follow-up, yes, I think we have in our plans to do additional lanes, not only for emergency vehicles, but even for public passenger service, because they're also another sector or subsector of the roads that actually congest the roads. So we'll have that one, and those additional roads, I think we're just re-engineering some of our roads so that we have those extra lanes. And in addition also, what we have seen already started is that we have re-engineered a number of junctions just to create additional lanes where ambulated services could actually veer through and take the service where it is wanted. So the re-engineering of a number of roads in Lusaka actually has already been done, and I think a number of them are now operational.
The Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit has the mandate to coordinate and mobilize resources for disasters, including emergencies. What is in place in terms of establishing the National Command and Control Center?
We have reached an advanced stage where now we have to set up this Command and Control Center, where all the stakeholders relating to emergencies will come together during preparedness, during the emergency, and after the emergency itself, to actually carry out a postmortem of what has happened and what has to be improved. So in terms of saying that where we are, as we shall see later on, we'll take you around, we have basic tools of trade for communication. But we still have some work to do in terms of emergency communication, in that we have to come up with a system which we are calling interoperable system. By interoperable system, we are talking about a system where the police, road traffic and transport agency, the hospital, the ambulance services, and other stakeholders, the Air Force, the Army, and so on, have to communicate on a common channel or on a common frequency if a situation arises for them to do that. And we are working on that. We have actually developed some documentation and a concept note to that effect, and in the nearest future we hope that resources allowing, we should be able to establish this emergency command and control center. The basic infrastructure in terms of the buildings at DMMU, we have that, and other issues we have to look at as well is the issue of personnel. And personnel, according to the concept which we have come up with, is we do not need new personnel, but various personnel from already established government institutions, such as the Ministry of Health, the Police, Home Affairs, Air Force, and also ambulance services, fire brigade, and so on and so forth, should be able to occupy this emergency command and control center, and then be able to work so that we actually improve our response when it comes to emergencies, especially human-induced emergencies. But we're also looking at, for us as DMMU, it's broader. We have to look at also other issues relating to natural emergencies and disasters such as floods.
When handling an accident or disaster scene, what do they consider?
The first thing you want to do is to size the number of patients you have, because patients will have different injuries, and they need to be a priority on who is transferred first, who is transferred next, and how you make the logistical plan on how to do it. So the ones that need urgent transfer are coded red, and that's a color code we use in triage, TRIAG. So the triage system says that the ones that need immediate attention, like the head injury, injuries of the throat, the chest, you know that the chances of them surviving without immediate attention is low. So you color code them red. And so when the ambulance comes, they're the ones who are attended to and given the priority, and they go first. The next priority is the yellow one. The yellow ones can wait, like you've got a fracture of the thigh bone or the pelvis. They can wait, they still have time to wait. So you can you take them as a second priority. They're colored yellow. And then the next color code is green. The green ones are those who have bruises, they've got a small scratch here and there, they've got a swelling there. They can walk with a bit of assistance, and they are breathing well, they are shouting obviously because they have been traumatized with the incident. So they are colored green. And usually the green ones, we put them together, and we can usually put them behind a truck or a van, and we transport them in larger groups. The red are transported as one patient in an ambulance. The yellow, we transport them two. The green can be transported in a larger group. And the last priority is the black. Now, black means that it's the patients that have got the least chance of survival.
We have also improved the critical care services because they are key in the provision of comprehensive emergency medical services. So for UTH and Ndola, which have had existing intensive care units, we've of course done some further training. For the provincial hospitals, most of them did not really have proper intensive care setups. Those ones we've gone on to refurbish the rooms and supply the equipment to establish intensive care units, and also ensuring that staff are trained. And we are fortunate now that in Zambia there's a program that trains critical care nurses. These are nurses that are basically trained to work in intensive care units. So we see that as a strength in terms of what we have achieved and responding to the needs of emergency health services. So the intensive care units in all the provincial hospitals, they are there, and they are functioning to, of course, different degrees, but you will continue to strengthen them to make sure that they provide comprehensive intensive care services.
Emergencies come in various forms, but there is only one catchword in dealing with all of them: urgency. Well, that's all we had for you on today's edition of News in Depth. We're looking at some of the challenges that lead to delays in attending to emergency cases. Thank you for watching. Join us next week with another program. From me, Effie Mpande, and my camera operator, Masao Sopiri, it's goodbye.